Lassie Farm here. Prison stories. I worked as a correctional officer in Colorado for about 3 years at the Sterling Correctional Facility, which had just opened up. It was a brand new facility out in the northeast plains of Colorado, and so I was there when it opened, and it was interesting. Pretty quickly I moved to the administrative segregation unit, which is kind of like the prison within the prison kind of deal, where the inmates were in their cell, you know, like 23 hours a day, only out to take a shower, and anytime they were out of their cell, they're handcuffed and leg irons, pretty much. And a lot of them were there, well, some of them were there kind of voluntarily to kind of check in, stay out of harm's way, because when you're in there, nobody can get to you, really. And some of them were, you know, put there by the administration or their case manager because they were troublemakers or heavy hitters, gang leaders. And I met some interesting dudes in there, some famous ones that I had read about years previous in the newspaper, and that guy had escaped. His girlfriend hijacked a helicopter in Canyon City, Colorado, and came and picked him up, and he busted out of there in the helicopter, and they ended up catching him a couple weeks later or something. But and I got to bring him his supper every day, and I talked to him a little. I imagine he's still there. Freddy Gonzalez. They called him Helicopter Freddy. And I remember a huge inmate that I think his last name was Burbridge, and he worked out like all the time. But of course, we didn't give them any, you know, they're just in a cell, or their yard time was in a tiny little like concrete box cage type of thing. And he'd be doing push-ups with, you know, one hand, or like standing on his head, basically doing push-ups. I was like, what? He was unbelievable. But, you know, just as kind and soft-spoken as he could be, never caused any problem that I know of. And there was a older corrections officer working there with me named Snelson, and he was a retired state trooper, and he was always telling stories about when he was a state patrolman and all the fights he used to get in, and he had false teeth, and he said when he was gonna have to go to a bar or something and break up a fight, he'd take his false teeth out and set them on the dashboard of his patrol car so they wouldn't get broken, you know, and then he'd go in there and kick everybody's ass, he said. Of course, I don't know how much of that was true, but he said he always said, I whipped their ass till their nose would bleed. And that was his saying, whip their ass till their nose bled. And I imagine he's probably not still around anymore. He was old then, back in the late 90s. And him and I used to get bored in the ad seg unit, and sometimes we'd walk into the pod, you know, where the cells were, and we'd like kind of stage it like we were in a big argument with each other, and we'd like yell and scream at each other and throw our flashlights on the ground, and all the inmates would be at their windows, you know, watching, and we'd just do goofy stuff like that. I don't know what our problem was, but I guess we were just trying to make it more interesting. I don't know. But of course, I got burned out on the place after a couple, 3 years, and kind of washed out of there. And I look back on it and say, what the hell was I thinking?